village of Hallathorn was small, tucked into the rolling hills like a secret. It had no train station, no post office, and only one narrow road that curled through the trees and opened into a modest cluster of homes. One of those homes, an old stone cottage near the edge of the woods, had been empty for years until Miriam came. She arrived in the spring of 1937 with her new husband, Thomas Olden, and his 10-year-old son, Samuel. The boy barely spoke a word on the journey, his face pressed to the window of the horse-drawn cart. Miriam studied him from across the seat, her gloved hands folded tightly in her lap. She had married Thomas only 3 months after his first wife died. Some whispered about that in town. Some always would. Number 2. Lavender and quiet Miriam was beautiful, not in the youthful, blushing sort of way that young village girls dreamed of. No, her beauty was colder, more precise, like carved glass. Her voice was soft, musical. Her hands always smelled of lavender. She tried with Samuel. She really did. She brought him books, sat with him during lessons, cooked him sweets from old recipes she'd never used before, but he was quiet, wary, and though he was never rude, his eyes, those pale green eyes, never looked at her with warmth. They reminded her of his mother's eyes. She'd seen them, in photographs and in her dreams. Number 3. The first cracks. Miriam's bedroom was at the end of the hall. Samuel's was across from hers, just past the landing. Every night, after Thomas had gone to bed, she would sit in her rocking chair with a cup of warm milk and listen. Sometimes the floor creaked outside her door, sometimes she heard whispering. One night she stepped out into the dark hallway and found Samuel standing in front of the linen closet. His back was to her. "Samuel," she whispered. He turned slowly. His eyes were blank. "She talks to me from inside the walls," he said. Miriam's breath caught. "Who?" "My mother. She says you don't belong here." #4. A mother's grief. Thomas worked long hours with the Forestry Commission, often gone from dawn until nightfall. Miriam was left alone with Samuel, the long hours of the day stretching like vines across her thoughts. She began to see things, faces in the mirror that weren't her own, hair in the sink long and dark, not hers. One afternoon she found Samuel sitting in the garden, tearing petals from the lavender she'd planted. "She doesn't like lavender," he said. "Who?" Miriam asked. He didn't answer. That night, she dreamed of the first wife, Eleanor. Her skin was pale as wax, her lips were sewn shut. Number 5. Love in the shadow. Despite everything, despite the strangeness, the whispers, the ghosts that clung to the walls, Miriam loved the boy. She loved him with an ache that began in her chest and bloomed through her arms. She wanted him to smile at her, to reach for her hand when they walked, to ask her to read to him by the fire. She began brushing his hair each morning. She sewed his clothes with the same care she had once used for her dolls as a girl. When he scraped his knee, she kissed the wound and told him that pain made us real. She would be his mother. She would make him love her, even if it took everything. #6. A voice in the floorboards. Miriam had begun to notice cold spots in the cottage, places where the air was brittle, where the candles flickered and died. In those places, she heard Eleanor, not in words, but in weeping, in breath, in the soft tap of fingernails on the walls. One night, after Thomas had gone to the city for a meeting, Miriam woke to the sound of Samuel's voice. He was talking to someone, laughing. She followed the sound to the sitting room. He sat in front of the fireplace, cross-legged, eyes closed. "She's coming soon," he said softly. "She says you'll be gone." Miriam knelt beside him. Her hands trembled. "Samuel, look at me." He opened his eyes, and they were black. Number 7. The burned diary. She found Eleanor's diary in the attic, beneath loose floorboards. It was half-burned, the pages crumbling at the edges. But what she could read chilled her blood. "Greater than he belongs to her now. I see her in the mirrors, in the firelight. She takes pieces of me while I sleep. He wakes with bruises he can't explain. She whispers to him when I'm not near. I think she wants to be his mother too. If I die, it will be her, not Miriam, not the new wife, the one beneath the floor, the one that smells of ash." Miriam wept. For Eleanor, for herself, for the boy, for the thing that waited beneath the house. Number 8. Fire and bone. The nightmares worsened. Miriam saw Eleanor walking the halls, dragging a black veil behind her. Sometimes, the ghost passed through her, and the cold was so sharp it split her teeth with pain. One night, Samuel vanished from his bed. She found him in the root cellar, standing barefoot on the stones. A circle of blackened ash surrounded him. "She was my real mother," he said. "You can't take that." "I don't want to take her from you," Miriam whispered. "She says you lie. She's dead." Samuel didn't blink. "So are you. You just don't know it yet." #9. What love demands. Miriam did what she thought was right. She burned the diary. She tore the lavender from the garden. She hung mirrors on every wall and painted runes she found in Eleanor's final pages. Salt, sage, prayers, desperation. She told Thomas she was ill, that she needed time to recover. In truth, she couldn't leave the boy alone. Not for a moment. Every shadow was a threat. Every whisper a lure. She loved him. She would save him. She would not let that ghost wife or not take him from her. And in her heart, A darker truth grew. If it came to a choice, she would let the house burn before she let him go. Number 10. The hollow. It happened during the storm. Rain lashed the windows. Lightning crawled across the sky like veins. The power died before midnight. Miriam woke to find her bedroom door open. The candle flickered on her nightstand and Samuel was gone. She raced through the halls, barefoot and wild. She found him in the attic, standing in front of the mirror. The woman stood behind him. Her skin was gray. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth stretched in a silent scream. "Don't you love me?" Miriam cried, reaching for the boy. Samuel turned. "I love you," he whispered, "but she's mine." The woman raised her hand. The mirror cracked. Number 11. A choice of love in the shattering glass. Miriam saw her reflection, aged, broken, lined with sorrow. Eleanor stepped forward, her mouth finally opening. "Give him to me," she rasped. "He is blood of my blood, flesh of my womb." Miriam clutched Samuel, tears on her cheeks. "He is mine too. I raised him. I loved him. I held him when he cried." Eleanor's eyes burned like coals. "Then die for him." #12. The flame beneath the fire began in the attic. Neighbors saw the glow from across the fields. But by the time they arrived, the house was engulfed. Thomas returned 3 days later to a ruin of ash. They found only one body, Miriam's. Trace of Samuel was ever found. Years passed. A new family built a home on the land. Their daughter, a quiet girl with long dark hair, often spoke to herself in the garden. When asked, she would say, "She sings to me, the lady who smells like lavender." And sometimes if you pass by the ruins at dusk, you can hear a woman's voice whisper through the stone, "I loved him more than life. I loved him more than death. I loved him until the end." And the boy's voice, soft as wind, "I know, the end."